Hello, I'm delighted to be joined for this afternoon's podcast by three of the key figures that will be involved in the regeneration of Whitehaven and Copeland at large. I'm joined today by the Chief Executive of BEC, Michael Pemberton, who you've probably, if you've been following the page, you'll have seen some videos that we've done earlier within the bus station, which is about to open in the next couple of weeks. And I'm also delighted to welcome to Whitehaven and welcome onto the podcast John Baker, who is already starting to have a significant impact as the Chief Executive of Whitehaven Harbour Commission. And last but not least, the third guest needs no introduction and is well known to everyone throughout Copeland, the Head of Corporate Affairs at Sellafield, Jamie Reid. Jamie, I'll start with you because you did this journey of regeneration in town and in Copeland. You've probably been, not probably, you have been on longer than any of us, but we've got a real significant step forward next week with the opening of the bus station. What does that mean to Whitehaven and what does it mean to Sellafield and their social impact?
Well, thanks very much, Mike. First of all, thanks for having us. And good to see Mike and John as well. As you know, probably better than anybody now, Mike, it takes a long time to get things done, and it always takes longer than you want to when you set out. And one of the things I've learned throughout my working life, whether that's inside or outside of politics, is that if you don't have the right partnerships in place, you're never going to achieve what you want to achieve. So what we're seeing now in Whitehaven, not just through the bus station and the Barclays Eagle Lab, but with the proposals that we have in place, well, the more than proposals, we've John can speak more about this later, in the development of the Edge on the harbour side, the Maritime Activities Centre. We're seeing the real value and fruition of partnership. So in the 4 years that I've been at Sellafield, we've invested just over £40 million in community regeneration activities as part of our social impact programme, which is known as SIX. And check that out on our YouTube channel. And that's doing some phenomenal things, from the development of Whitehaven campus all the way through to the bus station and the Edge project, which we talked about as well. But also we do things which not a lot of people are completely familiar with, such as the Well project. So the Well project puts £1.75 million a year into every classroom in every school in West Cumbria in order to reach those pupils most in need of catching up and levelling up their attainment. With funding things like the sea bins in Whitehaven Harbour too, also river restoration projects like the people on the Keekle. So what we're trying to do is make Sellafield's impact as an anchor organisation, as an anchor industry, go further than ever before, and to realise more benefit from Sellafield's presence in the community than ever before. We can't do that without everybody on this call right now, and that's the template for how we're going to move forward. We're just at the beginning, I think, of some really, really exciting developments, not just in Whitehaven but around Copeland and across West Cumbria as a whole. And I think the first visible signs of that was the campus a few years ago. We've now got the bus station. The next one will probably be the Edge. But even though we can't always see those things that we're doing, we're addressing the fundamental issues which need to be addressed in the local economy. And unless we address those fundamentals, then you can put whatever kind of window dressing you want on top, but it'll fade after a few years. So we're doing the proper, visible, really interesting, really exciting stuff, but we're also addressing those fundamental issues around education, around financial inclusion, which need to be addressed as well. And that's what the SIX programme and our social impact endeavours are all about.
I think it's seeing things like the bus station emerge and the Edge, which is about to come. It's visible signs of what Sellafield's doing, because I think there's probably a lack of understanding of some of the things that not everybody sees. Certainly from my standpoint, the work through the pandemic in providing computers and food parcels and work and skills programs. They're all a huge investment, but they're only seen by some, and it's actually nice to have something that's physical like the bus station that can be enjoyed by everybody that's visible.
Absolutely, Mike. And you know, somebody once said, we are all in this together. And you've got a really acute sense of this from being in politics and in business. It's impossible for anyone to pull a lever and expect things to happen by magic. Those levers just don't really exist.
Yeah.
You've got to build them. You've got to build them. And the way that you build those levers is through establishing really strong and effective partnerships. So going back on all the projects that we just talked about, we've all been involved in those. And it's the it's that strength of that partnership which delivers, and particularly delivers over the long term. So it makes it what we're doing and what we're investing, it makes it enduring. It's not just here today, gone tomorrow. It's not just flash in the pan kind of stuff. It's why I changed career fundamentally, so that we could kind of do long-lasting things which had a broad stakeholder support behind them across the public sector, across the private sector, and with some real support as well from the third sector, voluntary sector, charitable sector, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it takes time, but it's too rude for your podcast, Mike. What's the old adage about failure? But success has many parents, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, you know, Sellafield obviously plays a huge role in everything that we do in Copeland. You know, with the financial muscle that it puts in place, and certainly from my perspective and the organisation I run, you know, we're very much involved in the strategic direction of Copeland. Would you like to sort of expand more on BEC and BEC's role in sort of putting the money that Sellafield invests in the community to good use, and implementing the strategic direction that the council's trying to set to make Copeland a better place for everyone to live, work and visit?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you, Mike. And yeah, like Jamie, I'm delighted to be sharing the podcast with John and Jamie and yourself. Before I answer the question directly though, can I just come back to, there's this misnomer there that Sellafield's just about money, and that actually they will pump in money to allow an organisation like BEC to go and do the work that it needs to do. Actually, the bus station and the Edge, I'm sure, is the same, is completely different to that. It wasn't just about money. It was about skill, expertise, passion, purpose. So it was about an organisation coming together with other organisations to fix a problem, and to do that sympathetically and in collaboration. And actually, that's the roadmap. That's the future. They bring, so Sellafield and others brought huge skills to the development of the bus station. None of it would have been possible without Sellafield. And that's not just about money. It's about much more than that. But the bus station also is a symbol, a very, very physical symbol of partnership working, as Jamie has alluded to. When I think about the amount of local supply chain involvement we've had in the development of the bus station, it is incredible. 75–80% of the work done here was by local supply chain. That's epic. And I also think that when you consider the future of the bus station, how it migrates and comes into its own, it will also support future generations in our supply chain as well. But BEC, what is BEC? I think we've moved a long way in the last 5 years, 6 years. We were confused, and I think that we've come away from that, and I believe we've been successful in rebrokering what BEC stands for. And BEC is all about taking projects like the bus station and having a dream for it, having a purpose for it. But we're also more about a community. It's about doing more in the community that we serve. We're here to serve the community, the full stop. And if we're able to do the things that we dream we can do, and do that in collaboration, then we've been successful. So the project of the bus station, I would think, is just a springboard. If we fail to take advantage of the bus station, if we don't maximize the opportunity that the bus station presents us, then as an organisation, we will have failed spectacularly. We have to use the momentum of the bus station to go and do more. Jamie's right when he says we talk and we talk and we talk. But you know, we can't keep talking. This is about delivery. We now have a clear blueprint for delivery, and that's what BEC can bring. So we move on from the bus station. I'm very proud to say that Yesterday, we exchanged contracts on the Whittles building, another eyesore in this town, and we've got massive plans for the regeneration of Whittles building. We move on to talk about the Mark House site, the hotel future site. These are not just dreams now. These are all coming to fruition. So what is BEC? BEC is an enabler. BEC is a dream maker. BEC regenerates, really, but it doesn't do it alone. And it also understands the place that it has within the table. It's not all things to all people. It's a small cog in a much bigger engine.
Are you in the bus station now, Mike?
I am. How cool is this, eh?
Broadband's good. Broadband's good.
Thank goodness for that.
Thank you very much, Michael. John, relatively new at the table in town. It feels like you've been around for quite a while, and we're already starting to see some improvements on the harbour. You know, I think all of us, you know, Michael, Jamie, and myself have been around here for quite a long time. And I think we'd all be in agreement the harbour is the jewel in the crown in Whitehaven, and you know the benefits I've seen of the harbour during the lockdown period, and you know the people who spent hours walking around that harbour. You know, has brought home the you know what a benefit it is to Whitehaven to have that facility there. Do you want to talk just a little bit about your initial impressions of coming into Whitehaven and some of your plans for the harbour going forward, John?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Mike, and yeah, it's great to be on here with Jamie and Michael, as they've both said. Yeah, I think you can't underestimate the power of what the harbour has done through the lockdown in terms of people's health and well-being. And coming into Whitehaven, I think that's the thing that struck me immediately. I've been here a few months only, but the passion of the people here in Whitehaven is incredible. Their passion for this sense of place and wanting to have pride in this place is really what's been the inspiration to try and drive us on to try and do the improvements that we've done around the harbour and that we're trying to do and that we're trying to undertake. You know, I think that what's happened at the bus station is incredible. It looks fantastic. Really looking forward to seeing it next week. And I think what Sellafield and the Coastal Communities Fund have done for us in terms of the Edge coming on board in August next year, again, that's another marker. And as we talked about, that's a sign of physical things happening. But in terms of partnerships, again, we see through, again, using that Sellafield example, we see it on smaller projects. We've had some apprentices with us this week, helping us get the run story ready, for example. And indeed, our own operations manager for the harbour is on secondment from Sellafield. So it's all those skills and support that perhaps people don't see. But in terms of the physicality of the Edge coming on board next year, again, that is something that is for our community, is for the people of Whitehaven as the harbour is, but also goes beyond that. It's also a marker that stands out on the Lake District coast, as we want it to be called. You know, it goes beyond Whitehaven. It's for people beyond Whitehaven. It's for the whole of the coast, and that will make a real impact, not just here at Whitehaven, but across our county for people beyond our county. So that's a hugely important piece of the jigsaw for us. So people will see those physical things happening. For us, we've got a lot of assets around the harbour which are not in the greatest of condition for whatever reason, and we need to pick some of those projects up and deliver those in the next 18 months, 2 years, if we possibly can. And there's some significant investment needed there, but again, working in partnerships, working with local businesses, drawing in support, we will be hoping to start work on some of those major projects, such as the lighthouses, such as the Wave. We hopefully will have the festival lights coming on board at the end of June, which is another marker, again, lighting up that harbour. So there's lots of things for us to do. There's lots of steps for us to take. But as the guys have touched on before, it is all about working together, bringing people together, getting people to be proud of this town and the harbour, and going from there.
And if I, sorry, Mike, but if I can just come on the back of what John's just said, absolutely. I mean, it's such good news to hear that, and I've noticed a huge difference since John's arrival in terms of what's happening within the harbour side, and that's complete credit to John and his focus for wanting to make a better place. But can I just share something? And it's a bit of a cliche, I don't mean it to be, but everyone on this podcast shares one thing, and it's about having a purpose. We all share a purpose to make something better, to leave something for future generations. But well done, John. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Johnny, Jamie mentioned it earlier, and you've referred to it yourself, the Edge. Could you just expand for those who maybe not know what it is you're referring to when you speak about the EDGE project.
Yeah, so the EDGE project, or Coastal Activities Centre, as we'd like it to be called and referred to, will sit on where Wellington car park is. That's if people know Whitehaven and that side of the harbour, that's where the EDGE will sit. It'll be a spectacular looking building. But what it's about is engaging with the community, so having community activities within the centre. It'll have 17 bedrooms, got some conference facilities in there. So we'd like to do some community events within the EDGE. But it's also about that interface with the water and the coast and getting people to learn, take part in activities on the water, learn about the water, learn about the coast, engage with the coast. And it also gives us opportunities around things. Any event that goes on, we can, for example, we've got the Stand Up and Paddle UK Fest, the first ever festival for stand-up paddle boarding next year. That's taking place at the end of August. The EDGE then naturally becomes a centre point for that, of which the festival can spray out from. So it enables us to bring those new events, different events, those coastal related events, sporting events into Whitehaven. So again, it's that crucial thing of being able to have that long-lasting legacy and bring a legacy to Whitehaven that we can work on over a period of time. So it's great that we're going to open in August, and then a couple of weeks later we'll have a big major festival taking place around the EDGE. But it is about getting people involved and understanding and learning about the water and our coast. And as I say, people learning, engaging young people with that, engaging young people with those activities and what's going on in Whitehaven. And that's what we're going to deliver with the EDGE.
Excellent. When we spoke earlier in the week, John, you spoke about putting tables and chairs outside a number of the establishments and creating a bit of a continental feel on the harbour. I think that's a message that, if you could just expand on what you're hoping to do there, and that could maybe attract some feedback, because I'm sure it'd be welcomed by the majority of our residents around Copeland.
Yeah, again, thanks, Mike. Yeah, I think the important thing is that we're very open here. We want to hear people's ideas. We want to listen to people, and I'm sure people got lots of ideas. We want to listen to those. I think, and some people laugh at me when I say this, but that promenade around the harbour, there is no reason why we can't create a Villa Mora type experience. And I know the weather's different. I get all that. But if we can bring the businesses that are there alongside the harbour and from outside maybe, and create the fact that when you're walking on that promenade, you can go and have a nice drink of Prosecco somewhere, you can get a bit of seafood all the way along that promenade. You've got the opportunity to engage with the local businesses, have some food and beverages, and create that real European feel to it. And yes, okay, we might have to give a few branded blankets away to keep people warm at times. But I truly believe that we can make that happen. And we want the businesses to engage with us, come with us on this journey. Because Whitehaven can be packaged, people don't just have to come and they go to the Beacon for an hour and they come maybe pop into the Rum Story for an hour. This is about getting people to come and stay and make Whitehaven a happening place, the harbour to be a buzz, always be a buzz, spend time around the harbour, spend time in Whitehaven. There's plenty to do in Whitehaven. And that's very much part of my ideal for that. And I'm hoping that at some point, with your help and again partnership support, that we can engage with some of those businesses and maybe run a trial at some point through the summer this year and see how we got on. But it's absolutely something that can happen, should happen, will happen. It'll make a difference. It will make a difference. So hopefully we can get a trial of it at some point during this summer.
And I'm sure people listening into this podcast will, absolutely welcome with open arms hearing that. Michael, you spoke earlier, the contracts have been exchanged on Whittles, and we're now sort of expecting it's an iconic Georgian building in the town, probably with one of the most iconic, right staring down King Street. But the acquisitions and the redevelopment doesn't stop there, and it doesn't just stop in Whitehaven, does it? Beck are actively pursuing sites in other key towns throughout the borough.
Yes, and actually beyond the borough, Mike, actually, I think it's important that we recognise that actually, especially with local government reform as well, that BEC is an organisation that can support the wider aspirations of West Cumbria and beyond. I think it's important that we recognise that, and that's where our focus is. But if we bring it closer to home, you're absolutely right. We're a glutton for punishment. We've gone and bought Whittles. What the heck are we thinking of? But no, seriously, we see something there that's a spectacular Georgian building that we can turn into something really cool, and it will be really cool. But we are supporting you actually in Egremont, in terms of one of the opportunities in Egremont, also in Millom, a significant opportunity in Millom that we are chasing down. So there are 2 purchases there that we aim to hopefully complete by the end of the month, or the end of June, I would probably say. And that again brings forward some regeneration opportunities, but community-led regeneration opportunities there. And we've talked about what we've already got here. So we launched the North Shore a few years ago, and for whatever reason, we've been unable to deliver the office, and we've been unable to deliver the hotel. Actually, thank goodness we haven't, because right now, actually a major 100,000 square foot office on the Mark House site would have been the last thing that anybody would have wanted. So what we're aiming to do is to bring forward a university campus fusion with industry, particularly energy tech industry there. And we've got significant traction in bringing that forwards. That would support the development of a 300 build accommodation for students, so halls of residence. So we'll bring in 300 students right into the town every single day, staying there, living there. That in itself would add to the economy massively. On the hotel side, we have now getting very close to heads of terms with an operator to bring a hotel of excellence, a training hotel, be a 4-star, full service hotel, but it will train. Its key focus will be to train skills, new skills for people who may not necessarily want to go into the nuclear supply chain, want to go into hospitality. Well, this is about that. Yeah. So that's a really, again, another good opportunity for employment here in Whitehaven. So.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Jamie, I'm just going to kind of wind you back a little bit to your days in Parliament. Michael spoke there about training hotels, university campus, and it all comes back to education, and certainly in your time in Parliament, and certainly in my early time in the council, the nuclear industry was investing significant money, which could have been spent on all sorts of projects, but the priority was made the campus at Whitehaven, and we've had subsequent investment into Whitehaven Academy. I think the importance and of prioritising that is still as evident now as what it ever was.
Absolutely, Mike, and it actually even goes back further than that. If you look at the West Lakes Academy, it was the nuclear industry, Sellafield as then was, British Nuclear Group, that put forward the £2 million to enable us to leverage the 26, 27 million pounds out of government to build the West Lakes Academy. So education it's fundamental. So not just to Sellafield's mission, frankly, but also to the well-being of the community and our ability to diversify the economy and grow the economy going forward. So, if you look at the fact which we all understand pretty robustly, 58% of all jobs in Copeland rely directly or indirectly upon Sellafield. We've got some pretty good salary levels, but we also have a divide within the community about people who are able to access those salary levels and those who aren't. What we're trying to do now, sorry, before I get into what we're trying to do now, that educational improvement is the building blocks. That's why we've done the schools. That's why we've done the wells. That's why it's great to see Whitehaven Academy developing as well. But then what do you do with that? So once you've got that feedstock of better educated, better equipped, better prepared people, well, number one, you've got a better community. You just have, these are the fundamentals. Show me a good town that doesn't have a good school. You won't find one in the country. These are fundamental. If you want to have a thriving, vibrant economy and a thriving, vibrant towns, plural, then they've got to have good schools. And it's just a fact of life. So it's about delivering that first of all. And it's then providing those opportunities for those people, leaving those new and improved educational facilities. And that can't all be nuclear. And for thousands of people, it doesn't, nuclear is not on the agenda. They don't want to do that. It's got to be a diverse offer. So to get onto John and Michael's points about the tourism sector, to hear about a training hotel, I think that's a game changer. That's an absolute game changer. And we then look at the edge. And by the way, I don't know if we can put a link on this podcast. Might be beyond your technical skills, Mike. I don't know. But technical drawings, the artist impressions of the Coastal Activity Centre. It's copper clad. When the light hits it, it's going to look like Ayers Rock. It's going to be I think, in my personal view, when people think about the north of England, and if you ever watch Look North, and you'll see the Angel of the North on there's a symbol of the North and everything else. This building is so iconic. I think it's the kind of thing that you're going to see here, there, and everywhere. And people are going to look at it and they're going to say, the Lake District Coast, Whitehaven, whatever you want to call it. But it's phenomenal. But also that building, the Edge, it's the start of the coastal pathway. We've put hundreds of thousands of pounds into developing that, and it's also going to enable us. John talked about the accommodation it'll have within it. Over 100,000 cyclists on the coast to coast pass through Whitehaven every year. They've all got money to spend, and it's about making more of that money stick in the economy and stick in the community. So you can see here, 4-star hotel, training hotel, brilliant. Didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know, Mike. And then the edge and everything that provides, that different kind of continental feel, relaxation on the harbour side. You're going to see a lot more money sticking in the community. When you see that, you see more jobs getting created, better jobs being created, a more diverse economy, and in the fullness of time, that will significantly, we think and hope, reduce the over-reliance that the community has upon Sellafield in particular. So incredibly proud of the nuclear sector. Of course I am, working to advance it all the time. But as a community, we do need to have a more diverse economy. Education is the first building block towards achieving that, Mike.
And, alongside that is health. We do tend to, well, I think everywhere they tend to dwell on what they haven't got rather than celebrate what they do. But we've seen massive investment in the hospital. We've seen significant numbers of students coming into the West Cumbria Medical Education Campus. Again, over the last 5 years, 6 years, that's been, fantastic development.
Absolutely brilliant. The Centre for Remote and Rural Medicine, led by Cathy Jackson at UCLan and based out of West Lakes. I'm on the board there. It's absolutely fantastic. It was an idea we cooked up with UCLan when I was a Shadow Health Minister. And I think, again, and you know this intimately, Mike, a lesson, I personally think, for what the rest of the country should really seek to emulate. So we have traditionally had difficulties in attracting people and recruiting people to work in healthcare in West Cumbria, but loads of areas like ours across the country, and actually if you look across the world and the Western world, have similar kinds of issues. The Remote and Rural Medicine Centre is, as much as it is anything else, getting more students in, getting more healthcare practitioners in. It's also a policy example that we can hopefully roll out across the rest of the country to say, actually, this is how you solve your problems in communities which have had these kinds of difficulties in the past. And it's incredibly exciting. And you look at the developments at the hospital, it should be, but I always say this, don't I think we can solve so many of the country's problems. I just think we need to be a bit more, we need to be less modest about what we can demonstrate as being signs of success, really, in which other people could look towards and emulate. I have to say, it's made a lot easier by the fact that as an anchor industry, we know we're going to be here for 100 years. Our mission is going to take another 100 years. So we've got some certainty, we've got some security, and we've got a lot of planning we can do to make sure that we do succeed. That's one of the fundamental values, I think, of Sellafield, the local community.
Yeah, so some really positive messages coming out today. I'd like to sort of add to it. The restrictions start to ease from next Monday. People are going to have a lot more freedoms, and to people listening, I would urge them where they can to be shopping local. If you take Whitehaven as an example, the local shops support over 600 jobs, mostly women in those cases, and the future of those is dependent on people supporting those shops and pubs and cafes and things like that. So I would urge everybody where they can to shop local. I think we've had Jamie, John, Michael on today, who I said right at the start, our key figures in some of the really aspirational plans that we've got for Copeland going forward. John, I'll leave the sort of last word to you as the newcomer into town, to sort of give your impression coming into Whitehaven as somebody relatively new to the area, and what you see as the future for the local area.
I think again, when you listen to Jamie and Michael and yourself, Mike, you get real inspiration. And Jamie talked about, again, that lasting legacy. I think there's much that can be achieved. There's much to do, definitely. As Jamie says, we shouldn't be shy in celebrating the success that we've had and the successes that we continue to have. I see a really bright future for Whitehaven, speaking particularly about Whitehaven. I see a really bright future for it, and I appreciate that at times you may look around and think, well, there's an awful lot to do. Yeah, of course there is, but this is a fabulous place to live. I've been here 4 months. I live in the town. The harbour's a wonderful place. The people have this passion. If people can just listen and think, well, we can be a success, this is a fabulous place to live, look at all the good things about Whitehaven, then the potential is limitless, I think, and it's a wonderful part of the world to live in, and I'm really looking forward to the future. I think everyone should, and say, when you look at the likes of you guys around the table, I really do think that the future is bright for Whitehaven. And
on that high note, can I, Jamie, John, Michael, thank you all very much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.